At this point, I really don't know what more can be said about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that hasn't been said already. I mean, reviews came out weeks before the game came out, they're still coming out as it is. And when you're in this content creator space, it's a thing of if you're not first, more often than not, unless you've got a really unique angle, nobody's going to watch your content. But in this case, I'm going to put out this review, one, because I did get a review copy of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, as well as I bought my own physical collector's edition, or deluxe edition. I couldn't get the collector's edition, and therefore I am obligated. So shout out to Square Enix for providing a review copy of the game, but all the thoughts and everything that's going into this review are purely my own. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and what I think of it. It's not going to be a very long review. I'm not going to do an essay video. I know a lot of people love the essay video YouTubers, but that's not my shtick. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Final Fantasy VII maintains its status as an emblematic zenith of the Square Enix saga, captivating the gaming community with its unwavering influence. The allure of this JRPG giant has inevitably led to the creation of a highly anticipated remake, albeit one that ventures to alter many aspects of the time-honored formula. This evolution has sparked a debate among both longtime followers and those new to the series, pondering over which version offers the quintessential experience. This discussion gains further momentum with the introduction of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the trilogy's next installment, which radically revises the lore surrounding Cloud Strife and his companions. Engaging with the original Final Fantasy VII is crucial for a fuller appreciation of its successors and the ongoing remake saga. The foremost rationale for delving into the original game lies in its foundational narrative authenticity. Opting to explore a game from another era might seem rather straightforward, yet it affords an unparalleled depth of understanding. The original game lays a narrative, thematic, and character groundwork that later sequels and spin-offs elaborate upon, providing a rich backdrop which is essential for newcomers to the series. Final Fantasy VII Remake transcends a mere retelling, evolving into a reimagination that fully resonates with those acquainted with the original's plot. Its narrative divergences, particularly evident in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, underscores the indispensable nature of the original for those seeking to deeply immerse themselves in its newer iterations. Notwithstanding some opinions that might dismiss the original's relevance in light of Square Enix's promotion of the remake and rebirth as contemporary substitutes, and the truth of the matter is these new entries are more of a narrative continuation of the compilation of Final Fantasy VII than a literal remake. Remake and rebirth are subtitles. These are very firmly centered within the compilation of Final Fantasy VII. So if you've played through all of it, and you get to remake and rebirth, you're going to be able to appreciate it more. But if you're going to be someone who's new to the series and you want to hop on a remake and then go to rebirth, I mean, I'm not going to fault you for it. I'm just going to be completely honest. It's not a remake whatsoever. So long as you understand that, you're going to be fine. And yes, I know there are essay YouTubers out there that say, different timeline, it's not really connected, or it's not a sequel, all this other stuff. Here's the thing, it's the internet. People are allowed to have their opinions. They can be as far off as they want to be or as right as they want to be, but the thing that really matters, people are entitled to their opinions. So yeah, to me, it's a continuation, and it's because I've been with this since the original Final Fantasy VII, and I've played all the spin-offs. But that's my opinion. Transitioning to Rebirth, the storyline resumes in calm, with Cloud recounting pivotal events from his past, setting the stage for the ensemble's mission against Sephiroth and Shinra. Their odyssey spans diverse terrains from Junon's coastal cliffs to the expansive desert of Cosmo Canyon. The narrative of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth remains faithful to the original's plotline to a point, while introducing deeper story elements, serving both as an homage to and an exploration of new narrative territories. Although I have to say that certain narrative beats, such as when Barrett and Dine have their little squabble and that whole thing goes, it really loses a lot of the impact of the original, but it also does expand upon it. So if you are familiar with the original work, you can understand and appreciate to an extent what they're doing, but also kind of be like, maybe you shouldn't have done that. But that's my thoughts. Let's go ahead and get back to this review. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth not only encapsulates the essence of the original storytelling, but also enhances it through richer character development and a more nuanced narrative tone. The game adeptly balances moments of high drama with whimsical humor, which sometimes the humor just doesn't land correctly, especially when it's in a very serious scene, but hey, that's my opinion. Now, let's talk about the graphical fidelity of the game. So, that's been a point of contention for a lot of people, because you can run this game in graphics mode or fidelity mode, and when you're in graphics mode, it's 4K at 30 frames per second, but when it's in fidelity mode or performance mode, it runs at a, well, I guess you could say it's a checkerboard 4K, but it's really 1440p to an extent, upscale to 4K or checkerboarded, and it runs at 60 frames per second. Sometimes consistently. I mean, patches are and updates are fixing that. I think the game looks good. I think when it was day one, it did not look good whatsoever. Like it was very blurry, especially if you got a 4K or an 8K TV. It looked really blurry. But you know, future patches have, or you know, since its release, we're months after the game's come out at this point with this review. But since it's come out, the game does look substantially better in performance and fidelity mode, to a point where I really don't mind it. I've got a 4K 144 hertz monitor here, which I do all my gaming on when I'm recording content or streaming. I've got a 4K 60 hertz or 60 FPS TV over to my left, and I've got a 4K 120 hertz, I think it's like a 55-inch TV in my living room. And you know, in performance mode, where regardless of what I'm playing it on, it looks great. I get people's complaints about it, because you know, we're at a point where 1080p shouldn't even be the standard anymore. If anything, it's going to be the bare minimum, and we should have 4K as the standard, because we're in 2 console generations that should do 4K at 60, but they can't. So you know, keep that in mind. But I will say, for what it is, graphically the game looks good. The character models are markedly an improvement over Final Fantasy VII Remake. So texture wise, a lot of things do look better, but there are instances where you're like, hey, this kind of feels and looks like a last generation title. And I mean, hey, that's gonna happen. We're never gonna have a game at this point with the hardware and technology that's out that's going to look like it's just, you know, defining what it is. Like, it's not gonna have, you know, some low texture or low poly assets. That's just part of game development. And, you know, especially with crunch culture, I know people say crunch culture doesn't exist anymore, but it does. So you just got to put it in perspective. But graphically, the game looks great. Audio wise, voice acting superb. Shout out to my man John Bentley. It's one of my good friends. He's the voice of Barrett Wallace, and yeah, he kills it in this game. But yeah, everything looks good. You know, everything sounds great, and I really don't have any issues with the performance or the look or sound of this game. Now, I want to talk about the expansiveness of the open world, because this is what definitely sets this apart from Remake. And Remake's more linear nature, whereas this one is so expansive that even at the time of this recording, like I haven't touched on everything, and there's no way I can. I've got kids, you know, projects that I'm working on. I really don't have the time to really just dive into everything like I could have before kids and marriage, right? But I want to talk about how vast the open world is. It is unlike any other Final Fantasy that's ever been there. So let's talk about it. The game's world's expansion and rebirth is noticeable, featuring a variety of environments filled with challenges and side quests. If you thought this is going to be like Final Fantasy 15, where it's an open world but it's barren, there's nothing going on, or if you thought it was going to be similar to, I don't know, the mini areas within 7 Remake or what 16 had going on, no. This is an open world where NPCs are doing a whole lot. I mean, you got mini games like Queen's Blood, which I enjoy, I know people have said Queen's Blood is the best mini game in the Final Fantasy ever. I can't agree with that, especially with it being a card game, because I still feel like Triple Triad is a much better card game. It's one that, you know, I spent hundreds of hours playing that as a kid back in '99. But the Queen's Blood is pretty good. It's not the greatest, but it's pretty good. But yeah, this open world, there's never a dull moment. There's always something to do, shops to go to, people to talk to, you know, people to play Queen's Blood with, various other mini games. There's just so much to do that it's impossible unless you've had like a whole production team and you got writers and you got people that can capture all this footage. There's no way anyone can cover everything that is in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. When I say this is one of the biggest Final Fantasies ever made, I'm not joking. And to think that this is only part 2 of a trilogy of, you know, sequels technically to the original compilation, man, what is the third title going to be like? And we got to talk about the combat system as well. The combat system in Rebirth builds upon the foundation laid by the remake, which combines real-time action with strategic elements, fostering dynamic engagement with all party members. The introduction of new characters and gameplay enhancements, along with adjustments to combat mechanics, adds a fresh layer of strategic complexity to encounters. So wrapping everything up, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth embodies Square Enix's ambitious vision, marrying the original game's legacy with contemporary gaming innovations. It strikes a balance between fidelity to the original and introduction of novel elements, crafting an immersive and comprehensive experience that reveres its origins while exploring new frontiers. For enthusiasts of the remake or those seeking a more expansive and varied experience than the original could provide, Rebirth presents a compelling continuation of the beloved saga. This journey through an updated world, enriched with complex character arcs and a diverse array of gameplay elements, reaffirms the enduring charm of the Final Fantasy VII universe. So now it's time for me to give a score, a rating for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I'm gonna give Final Fantasy VII Rebirth a 4 out of 5. And that wraps up the review of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Again, thank you to Square Enix for providing a review copy of the game. But what do you guys think of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Is it the greatest game of all time? The holy grail? Are you like the Pope holding your copy of it like so many people have been claiming? It's kind of ridiculous how people, you can enjoy a game, but you don't have to take it to that height. Like, it's great, but for me, it's not the greatest game of all time. You know, I'm still, and I know this is controversial to say this, but I'm still putting Final Fantasy 16 above Remake and Rebirth personally. That's controversial, but that's my opinion. If you don't like it, hey, I don't care. It's my review, it's my thoughts, my opinion. But all that being said, let me know what you guys think about this review, about the game, all that. And if you want to pick up a copy of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I will leave links down in the description below, as well as pinning it to the YouTube video so that you guys can pick it up. And all that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. So stay safe, be blessed, have aloha. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. We hope.